Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today. So it's Impact Wrestling Day, so we're going to talk about some Impact Wrestling. Of course, the big news coming out of last weekend's Knockdown event was that Impact Wrestling had officially announced the signing of the IInspiration. The former IIconics are coming to Impact Wrestling. Now, it was first announced that the IIconics, the IInspiration, are going to continue to keep going like that with that name. I'm going to continue calling them either the IIconics or the IInspiration or mixing them up. So I apologize ahead of time, but it was announced that the IInspiration would be making their Impact Wrestling debut at Bound for Glory later on this month. Well, we now know what the IInspiration are going to be doing at Bound for Glory. I mentioned that I thought they would come to Impact Wrestling because Impact, of course, has the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. We're not even going to have to wait that long to see them challenge for the titles because it's been announced that in their debut match, the IInspiration will indeed be challenging for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships against the current champions, The Decay, at Bound for Glory on Saturday, October 23rd. Now, the IInspiration's Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay are set to receive a title shot in their Impact Wrestling debuts. Now, Impact previously announced that the tag team formerly known as the IIconics would be making their debuts at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view later on this month, but it's now been announced that the IInspiration will be challenging the Decay's Rosemary and Havoc for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships at Bound for Glory. Of course, the 2021 Impact Bound for Glory pay-per-view will take place on Saturday, October 23rd from Sam's Town in Las Vegas. The 1-hour Countdown to Bound for Glory pre-show will take place at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the main card will begin at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time as well. So I didn't really see this one coming, it must be said. I just assumed that the IInspiration would be making their debuts at the show and it would be a segment possibly involving, say, the Decay, and then they would spin off into a match further down the line, maybe at Hard to Kill or maybe at Turning Point. Of course, we know that's happening in November on Impact Plus. So kind of surprised to see them going with it this early on, but there really only has to be one winner here. The IInspiration aren't going to lose on their debut. Can you imagine if the IInspiration, they have this big debut, right? They're these big signings from WWE, 2 hot free agents, right? And they come into Impact Wrestling. They can't lose on their debuts, right? They just can't, because that's not how you debut in a company. You don't debut by losing, because then immediately people will look at you and say, well, they're not worth any money, or they're not successful, or they're not big stars, or whatever it may be. So I think the IInspiration are coming in, and just like that, they're becoming the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Is that a good move or not? It depends, because in pro wrestling, historically, sometimes the money is in the chase. Chasing for that title, getting knocked down, getting back up again, getting knocked down, getting back up again. Heel or babyface, most of the time this is referring to a babyface, which I don't think the IInspiration are going to be. I think they're going to be heels, especially considering the champions are babyfaces in this case. So this confirms that the IInspiration are going to be heels in Impact. But again, part of the money sometimes is in the chase, and again, you would think that maybe they would build to this in terms of promos, matches, etc. But it's not as if they sprung this on us as a surprise. I think, put it this way, if they just had the IInspiration debut at Bound for Glory, and that's what we just thought they were going to do, they were just going to debut, they were just going to do a segment, and then the Decay came out, and then an impromptu Knockouts Tag Team Championship match was made, and then the IInspiration won the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, it would be good for shock factor, but that's it. At least they're building to it. At least we're not going down a route where we're having Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair kind of situation at SummerSlam, right? Whereby Becky Lynch shows up, she wins the championship. Everyone goes, what just happened there? Why didn't they build to that? Instead, at least Impact is saying, this is what we're going to do. We are building to the match. Not only are the IInspiration going to be making their debuts at the show, but they're going to be making their in-ring debuts, and their in-ring debut is going to be for the Knockouts Tag Team Championship. They're trying to build it up as a really big deal, obviously. So I can kind of appreciate that. As I mentioned, maybe it is too soon, but in reality, I suppose this is another good thing to consider as well. In reality, what other options are really there in the Knockouts Tag Team division right now? There are a couple of other tag teams, but not many. You've got Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering. I think Jordynne Grace is focused on the Digital Media Championship. We'll talk about that in a second. So in reality, I guess Impact probably looked around and went, we're going to put the titles on the IInspiration anyway. That's always the end goal here. They're coming in as a tag team. We've got female tag team championships. Of course. Of course, we're going to put the titles on them. So why don't just do it from the outset? More people are going to be watching Bound for Glory anyway. It's the biggest platform to make a statement as making them the Knockouts tag team champions. It's a way to bring them in as hot as possible. Why not go for it? So that's what they're going to do. Again, the match itself is kind of inconsequential. And I think Impact also are looking at it as, we can do here what WWE should have done. When WWE introduced the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, there was a lot of excitement because you had Banks and Bayley. But even when the IIconics won the championships at WrestleMania, by the way, people must forget that happened. People thought, great, well, at least they are a legitimate female tag team. You have female tag team championships. It makes a lot of sense. And they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing with those women's tag team championships. That's not on the fault of the IIconics, the IInspiration now. That's on the fault of WWE just not being able to book tag team wrestling, let alone women's tag team wrestling. So maybe Impact are looking at this going, you know what? The Knockouts tag team championships so far have been so-so. I mean, they lost their best Knockouts tag team, which was Fire and Flavor, now that Kiera Hogan's in AEW and Tasha Steelz is still in Impact Wrestling. They lost their best Knockouts tag team. So why don't we have one of the better female tag teams out there right now, a legitimate female tag team, not two single stars put together? Why don't we have them come in, debut, win the championships, and then we can build up that division by bringing in opponents for them to face. They can elevate the division. So I can kind of see that happening. Again, I would be flabbergasted, absolutely flabbergasted, if they came in and lost that match. It's just not gonna. It's just not gonna happen. So, not only are the IInspiration making their debuts, their Impact debuts at Bound for Glory, they're making their in-ring debuts, and I think they're gonna win the Knockouts Tag Team Championships at Bound for Glory as well. It just makes the show even bigger, doesn't it? So, certainly an interesting one to look out for later on this month. Now, speaking of going from incomings, the IInspiration, to outgoings at Impact Wrestling, because Acey Romero has officially been released by Impact Wrestling. Acey Romero has reportedly parted ways with Impact Wrestling. Now, this isn't much of a surprise because it's been previously reported that Romero had requested his release from the company. But on Tuesday, Ad Free Shows' John Alba reported the news that Acey Romero's release was granted and said he was free to work with any promotion he'd like to moving forward. Now, per previous reports, Romero asked for his release at the end of August. He hasn't appeared on Impact Wrestling programming since May 20th. Romero tested positive for COVID-19 around that time, so he was on the shelf for a little bit, but he still wasn't used after he was cleared. Now, in an update to Alba's confirmation, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that Romero obtained his release, and while that process was somewhat slow going, it was a fairly smooth process. Sapp noted that Romero's departure doesn't come with a non-compete clause, so he's free to compete anywhere he wants. Not that I expect him to be showing up in WWE or AEW anytime soon. Could certainly see him going to MLW though, Ring of Honor. I could absolutely see him in the NWA. I think Acey Romero is kind of what NWA looks for. If you've seen any recent interview with Billy Corgan, he said that he likes bigger guys, and Acey Romero's a big guy, not a muscle guy, but a big guy nevertheless, larger than life. Certainly, I could see him absolutely being in the NWA, no doubt about that. Of course, Acey Romero was in that first ever match in AEW, wasn't he? He was in that Casino Battle Royale and the buy-in for Double or Nothing in 2019, but I feel like AEW's moved on, to be honest, from that point of view. If anything, you look back at that initial Casino Battle Royale, even though it had the likes of Hangman Page, MJF, I think Luchasaurus in there, there are a couple of people in that match that's a bit cringy and it's just a bit clunky. And again, I really don't think Acey Romero will be going back. But because he doesn't have a 90-day non-compete clause, he can go anywhere he wants. During his absence from Impact, Romero has remained active on the independent scene, particularly for Limitless Wrestling. Acey Romero's partner in Triple XL, Larry D, is still signed to Impact Wrestling, but he hasn't been used since Romero's last appearance either. Now, Romero did release a statement regarding his Impact Wrestling departure. He released a statement on social media, on his Twitter account, which I have in front of me here. It is quite lengthy, so you'll have to bear with me as we read through it. This is what he had to say, quote, "I had hoped this day and situation would never come, and despite doing everything in my power to prevent it, I find myself here all the same, asking for and being granted my release from Impact Wrestling. I want to start by thanking everyone at Anthem. I truly mean everyone from the production crew to the agents, to the office, to the men and women. I was fortunate and lucky enough to share the locker room with and ring with. I have to give a special huge thank you to Larry D, who become like a brother to me during our run as Triple XL. Even though I never considered myself a tag team wrestler, I'm so grateful to get paired up with a great wrestler like Larry. Easy for me to say, guys. Even before I caught COVID, I had felt that our opportunities were few and far between and became non-existent after I had recovered from COVID. All I've ever wanted to do was show the world what I can do, to not let people judge a book by the cover and entertain like only I can. With this chapter of my career coming to an end, I'm very much so looking forward to starting the next one and getting back to business. Thank you for all your love and support. See you when I see you, Acey. So Acey Romero is gone from Impact Wrestling, and you know, he had his part to play, and that was kind of it. There was always a ceiling for him in Impact, and I'm interested to see what he does going forward. Like I said, I don't really know what it means for Larry D right now, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk about the Digital Media Championship. That name. It has continued, though. The last couple of days, we've seen the tournament resuming. Fallah Bahh defeated Sam Beal in their single elimination bout. Now, Bahh will now meet John Skyler and Crazy Steve, who won their scheduled matches last Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively. Those three mentioned, along with 3 additional participants, one which we have confirmed now, will participate in a 6-person match to crown the inaugural Digital Media Champion on Saturday, October 23, live at Countdown to Glory at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, of course, airing prior to Bound for Glory. So Fallah Bahh is now into the finals of Countdown to Glory. But another name is also in there as well, that being a female, Jordynne Grace. She's now also in the Countdown to Glory match for that Digital Media Championship to become the inaugural champion, because on day 4 of the Digital Media Championship tournament, Jordynne Grace punched her ticket as the 4th finalist after conquering Johnny Swinger. She is the first female entrant in the event. Grace now joins the likes, as I mentioned, of Fallah Bahh, Crazy Steve and John Skyler as part of that 6-way match to crown the inaugural Digital Media Champion on Saturday, October 23, live at Countdown to Glory at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So we now have 4 people in there. We're going to have 2 more other people coming in, which I'm assuming is going to be determined next week. I don't really know if I should say who I think is going to win it until all 6 have been announced. I think Jordynne Grace has a really strong chance of winning it. In fact, if Impact Wrestling really wanted to sort of make a statement, they probably would actually have Jordynne Grace win the match. Let's be honest here. They probably would. And given the names that are in there, no disrespect to Fallah Bahh, Crazy Steve and John Skyler, Jordynne Grace is the biggest name. She absolutely is the biggest name out of all of them. And look, Jordynne Grace, if you want to talk about the digital media sort of point of view, if you want to talk about social media, you want to talk about Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff, Jordynne Grace has the biggest following out of any of those people in this match, and biggest following out of most of the people on the Impact Wrestling roster. Jordynne Grace is really, really popular. She's really super popular on, as I mentioned, on Twitter, on Instagram, on OnlyFans as well. She has a big following. So Considering that she does have this big following and people know who she is, and she has a very, very, very strong, pun intended, strong social media game, it would make a lot of sense in reality to actually have Jordynne Grace win that match and kind of really establish her as the inaugural Digital Media Champion. Again, she just re-signed with Impact Wrestling going forward. She's a big star on the Impact Wrestling roster. They've obviously got big plans for her. Now, again, I don't know who the other 2 competitors are going to be in that match at Countdown to Glory for that Digital Media Championship. But to be honest with you, honestly, I really wouldn't be surprised if Jordynne Grace won that match. And I don't think it would be a bad thing at all. I really don't. So I don't want to say I think it's going to be Jordynne Grace, because I don't know. Because we might see 2 other people and I'll go, definitely going to be that person. So at the moment, I'm going to say I think Jordynne Grace is the inaugural Digital Media Champion, even though, again, not a fan of the name, not against the concept. I think the concept can work. But again, it's like any championship or any event. It's not the championship, and this is, I know I've said this time and time again, and probably you'll be annoyed with me because I repeat myself here, but it's not the championship that is going to draw people to watch on YouTube or on Impact Plus or whatever. It's the champion and it's the matches. If you've got a great match that you're promoting, Jordynne Grace versus Ace Austin, right? And people were like, oh, Jordynne Grace versus Ace Austin? I'd watch that on YouTube, or I'd watch that on Impact Plus for the Digital Media Championship. That's interesting. Jordynne Grace versus, Fallah Bahh for the Digital Media Championship on Impact Plus. I'll probably miss that. I'll probably miss that and catch it on a website or catch it on social media, which I guess is part of the point. But you know what I mean? That doesn't really interest me in terms of signing up to Impact Plus or in terms of becoming an Ultimate Insider on YouTube. But it's the matches, I think, going forward that are going to really determine the success of the Digital Media Championship. But that's just me, and we'll have to wait and see. A lot of the times with these initiatives or new championships and various companies, they bring them in with all of these grand plans and expectations, and then give it a few months, other things come up, or they just lose their momentum. I mentioned the Knockouts Tag Team Championships earlier. Not to say the Knockouts Tag Team Championships don't mean anything, but they certainly feel a lot colder than they did at the beginning of the year when they were brought back. It's difficult to maintain momentum when it comes to new championships, new ideas, new initiatives, because you always revert back to the status quo. So I think, again, it'll be important who that inaugural champion is. It's important the matches they present. And that's going to be the real key to the success here when it comes to the Digital Media Championship, in my opinion. But, hey, could be wrong. Been wrong before. There's another new signing in Impact Wrestling, specifically in the Knockouts division, as Masha Slamovich has officially signed with Impact Wrestling. Now, of course, you may have seen her during the Knockouts Knockdown event last weekend, but following a match with Impact Wrestling's Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo this past Saturday at the Knockouts Knockdown event, Masha Slamovich is now a member of the Impact Wrestling Knockouts division. In a video released by the company yesterday on social media, Gail Kim came out after the match and offered Slamovich a deal to become the newest Knockout. Slamovich nodded her head yes and received a standing ovation from the crowd. After Gail Kim sets a pick your poison stipulation between Mickie James and Purrazzo, James chose Slamovich as Purrazzo's opponent at Knockouts Knockdown. The two would go on to have a 12-minute match with, of course, Deonna Purrazzo winning, but it was very, very good. Now, Slamovich has only been wrestling 5 years. She's 23 years old and she was trained by the Amazing Red, but also has received training from various stars in Japan, as well as Johnny Rodz. The self-proclaimed Russian Dynamite got her start, as I mentioned, in Japan, wrestling for Small Josie Promotions. She's gone on to make appearances for AEW, GCW, CZW, and Beyond Wrestling in just this year alone. The match she had was actually really, really good. Really good. There was a bit of a delay when it came to all of this as well. Impact's hope was that they were going to air it on Knockouts Knockdown, or they were going to post it on social media right after the event ended, possibly the day after. Reportedly, this comes from Sean Rossappa Fightful Select. Be sure to check them out. It's their Patreon service. There was a bit of a delay because they wanted to get that deal confirmed, and it wasn't officially confirmed for a couple of days, but now it's officially confirmed. They released the video, and Slamovich is officially with Impact Wrestling. So a great signing, and as I mentioned before, there have been knockouts that have departed over the course of the last 12 months, but look how they're restocking this. You lose the likes of Taya Valkyrie, etc. Who did you bring in? Mickie James is back, kind of, with the company. Masha Slamovich, they're doing all right. The IInspiration are coming in. That revolving door in Impact Wrestling. You know, people can come out, but new people can come in. So exciting and well-deserved. And I think she's going to be a really big deal in Impact Wrestling. I really do. Finally, of course, it's Impact Wrestling on AXS TV tonight. And we have some matches announced for the show. One being a 20-man Battle Royale with Bound for Glory implications been announced for tonight's episode of Impact. Now, the winner of the Battle Royale tonight will enter the 20-man Call Your Shot Gauntlet at Bound for Glory as the last entrant. But the last person to be eliminated from the Battle Royale will enter the Call Your Shot Gauntlet as one. I believe they've done something similar to like this before. So the 20-man Call Your Shot Gauntlet at Bound for Glory will see the winner, of course, as it does every year, earn a future title shot of their choosing. Participants confirmed for the gauntlet as of right now are the likes of W. Morrissey, Eddie Edwards, Rich Swann, Moose, and Brian Myers. Plenty of names who could win that one. W. Morrissey and Moose being two that I think are very much favourites, but we always see surprises as well, so we could see some surprises. Remember last year, James Storm came back and other names as well, so certainly a possibility as well. Also announced for tonight's episode of Impact on AXS TV is a World Championship Summit between Impact World Champion Christian Cage and his challenger for Bound for Glory, that being Josh Alexander. I'm enjoying the feud, and I'm just very excited for the match at Bound for Glory. There's not much more needs to be said, and it's one of those matches, Cage versus Alexander, that doesn't really need selling because everyone knows it's going to be good anyway, so I'm excited to see that. A couple other things announced for tonight's show as well includes Chris Bay from the Bullet Club versus Chris Sabin. We've got Willie Mack versus Rohit Raju versus El Phantasmo, with the winner joining Trey McGowan and Steve Macklin in the Bound for Glory triple threat for that vacant X Division Championship, so that should be pretty great as well, along with that World Championship Summit and the Battle Royale we just spoke about as well. So very excited for the show tonight, and Bound for Glory gets closer and closer. But look, guys, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these Impact Wrestling news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with guys talking about WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Got the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.